And now it's my great honor to introduce to you Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur, who will deliver the charge to the graduates. Marcy Kaptur has been a member of the U.S. House of Representatives since 1983, representing Northern Ohio's 9th Congressional District. Congresswoman Kaptur is currently the longest-serving woman in Congress, in the House of Representatives. Quite amazing. Prior to her election to Congress, she had been a well-known political activist and volunteer since the age of 13. She received her Bachelor of Arts degree in history from UW-Madison, yes, and a Master of Arts degree in urban planning from another fine, even if slightly less fine university, the University of Michigan. I have a thing about Michigan. Trained as a city and regional planner, Marcy Kaptur practiced 15 years in Toledo and throughout the country. She was appointed as an urban advisor to the Carter White House, and she helped maneuver 17 housing and neighborhood revitalization bills through Congress during those years. She's currently a member of the House Appropriations Committee, the House Budget Committee, and the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. Please join me in welcoming Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur.
Thank you so very, very much, Chancellor Martin. Greetings, Badgers. I am so happy to be back here. And congratulations to the winter 2010 graduates of this great University of Wisconsin. I know we gather in the varsity capital of truth seekers. Yes, as John 8:32 reminds us, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set ye free. So we can be heartened to share this celebratory moment at the start of a new millennium. Little did I imagine as a graduate in 1968 that I would stand before the graduates at the close of this first decade of the 21st century as the senior woman in the U.S. House of Representatives. Thank you for this invitation today, and I want to thank your parents and your families for the sacrifices they have made that we could all be here today. Let's give them a hand. As the old saying goes, they never said the road would be easy. Give me a place to stand, said Archimedes, and I will move the world. For us, that place began here in Madison. Soon, you will move the world with the knowledge and education you have acquired. Please know the lessons that I learned in this hallowed institution have accompanied me every day of my life and career, none more than the legendary and enduring commitment to the continual and fearless sifting and winnowing by which alone the truth can be found. I could not have anticipated, as a young graduate, the mighty waves of change that would sweep over our nation and world in the days until I joined you here today in this place to celebrate your achievement. In fact, in 1968, the Badgers went 0-10. But on New Year's Day, 2011, this year's team is going to win the Rose Bowl. And UW will teach the country and world how to bucky. As a student during the 60s, I was inspired, along with my colleagues, by this university's august commitment to truth-seeking. I was infused, too, by the idealism of those times. President John F. Kennedy had called upon a new generation to ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, and what together we can do for the freedom of man. The focus was us, not me. But in that fateful decade, his brief presidency was cut short by an assassin's bullet. I came to the University of Wisconsin to study history because I heard his call. Then Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in the spring before we graduated. And just a few days before our graduation in June 1968, Senator Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated. Our idealism met a brutal reality. But change cannot be stopped, just as a dream cannot be denied. Together, determined Badgers strive to better the condition not just of ourselves, but of humanity. Each graduating class, mine, yours, and all those in the interim, create waves of intelligent, constructive energy that rush forth across the generations. Your talents are surely needed. Know that liberty's survival is fundamental to all your dreams. It requires your allegiance. It demands an educated citizenry. For as Epictetus observed, only the educated are free. This mantle, this awesome responsibility has fallen today more fully to you. Even in oppressed societies, this quest for truth inspires people and ultimately quashes falsehood. Surveying this vast audience, I cannot help but reflect on my own graduation from this hallowed place. Our time was marked by turbulence, the Vietnam War, racial discord, cultural upheaval, cold wars, and long, hot summers of political unrest. In those times, it seemed as if world events moved faster than time itself, as America rushed to influence them. Though the era appeared confusing and frightening, actually, we were living the change that produced progress. Globally, the intervening years have seen events as no one thought possible. The sudden collapse of the Soviet Union, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the founding of the Solidarity movement in Poland 30 years ago this year. Technological advances that were unimaginable have been achieved. Landing on the moon, mapping of the human genome, emerging solar technology, and the internet. Meanwhile, America's fateful dependence on imported petroleum crept up slowly and fully landed its first blow to our economy with the 1978 Arab oil embargo. Shortly thereafter came the Iranian capture of U.S. hostages. As a White House advisor to then-President Jimmy Carter, I was reminded of the timeless words of one of my history professors here, Dr. Eric Lampert, who taught us, economics is not destiny, but it is 85% of it. This oil reality keeps afflicting our dependent nation. Every time gasoline prices rise above $4 a gallon, our economy plummets into deep recession. This occurred again in 2007 and 8. It tripped the current downfall, followed by the mortgage foreclosure crisis. Americans must will our way out of this dependency. Yet far too many citizens still dimly fathom our predicament. We must restore energy independence here at home. Nothing could be more strategically vital to our nation or to our liberty. Ask any Marine who has seen combat in the last 25 years. You graduate at a time with no fewer cross-currents than when our historic class marched forward. Geopolitically, the wars in Central Asia are the most protracted military engagements in American history. More than 5,500 of our heroic soldiers have died, along with thousands more wounded. The war on terrorism has no actual front, but moves below the surface of repressed societies that are strangers to liberty. Radicals who paradoxically despise liberty, yet simultaneously desire some of it, employ religious fervor as their only metaphor for change. Here at home, America's overall economy has become more and more dependent on foreign imports, as good jobs for our middle class are outsourced to penny wage locations. This year's trade imbalance will lop 80% off our economic growth. This is a hard truth. Though productivity has doubled, with the Dow up 42% and NASDAQ up 78% with corporate earnings at record levels, most working Americans have not had real income growth since 1975. The average household is struggling. Some 30 million people are out of work, underemployed, or simply have given up. Recently, the largest transfer of wealth in modern American history has just occurred of Main Street home equity to Wall Street's global banks. Yet Wall Street executives exact huge bonuses, and their banks were bailed out 100 cents on the dollar by our taxpayers due to their sheer political power, despite their recklessness and moral hazard. Just 6 megabanks now control 2/3 of the capital in our nation. This command and control by the few over the many is very dangerous, economically and politically. Not surprisingly, our citizens are politically restless, unhappy with our nation's ability to meet these new challenges to liberty, to opportunity, and peace. Your studies here have helped ground you to engage the world of today and inform you the rest of your life. You will change our country and world. The rigor learned here in the classroom and surely mounting Bascom Hill and traversing this vast campus in all temperatures has prepared you for the far horizon. Please never stop learning. Perhaps the most valuable lesson you have learned here is to be critical thinkers. Use that fiercely. Before I close, let me share with you a personal reflection about our society and some life lessons. Liberty must rest on trust between individuals, trust within communities, and trust among elected officials. So wherever life takes you, consider how to build strong families of affection. Value your own family. Seek to build strong family and community associations. Wherever you are from, consider returning there. It might be a good place worthy of your attention. After all, it produced you. Cherish your community, no matter how humble. If children are to be a part of your future, think how to give them a firm, secure foundation with love and discipline to last a lifetime. Too many children in our society need family attachment, love, and direction. Robert Louv's book, Last Child in the Woods, has sparked an awakening about the health and well-being of the next generation. He coins the term nature deficit disorder to characterize our children's worlds. He describes their limitless reach into cyberspace as the average child spends 7 hours a day consuming virtual media, television, texting, and computers. As a result, they are losing real contact with others, and they actually fear nature. He raises questions about their well-being and challenges for if the disconnection between children and nature continues, who will become the future stewards of the earth and who will swing on the birches? Before Congress, I practiced in my own profession of city planning for many years. My work took me to Chicago, where I spearheaded a plan done in 3 languages involving working-class people for the revitalization of their multi-ethnic neighborhood on the near northwest side of the Loop. Some of the most important experiences I had are not mentioned in any book. Countless human stories of noble Americans of modest means who carried liberty forward in tender and lasting ways. Citizens of our republic like Elizabeth Anders, who fought hard to build a better America in her own neighborhood. My lasting memories include her command of the streets, sidewalks, and alleys she knew so well, and her maternal standard setting for neighborhood youth. If she happened upon an urchin on a bicycle cutting through a vacant lot during midday and not in school, she would shout out loudly, "Why aren't you in school today?" And she would track that youth back to the parents where they belonged. Children were to be tended, guided, and disciplined. Or gravelly-voiced, brilliant Josephine Koziel, who should have gone to college, who had been one of the first women to manage the executive office of an oil executive and lived in her ancestral home on Fry Street until she passed. She supported her local church, shops, and neighborhood organizations, refusing to yield an inch of ground, first to the gangbangers who would appear at unexpected moments, and then later to those she called the briefcase people, who began to move in around her as the area gentrified. She observed they never said hello, and they didn't participate in neighborhood institutions. Or Rocco Gandolfo, who devoted so many years of his life to Erie Settlement House, welcoming newcomers to the community and serving all. These mothers and fathers for America knew what it takes to raise a family and nation. They worked hard to create the next generation through wholesome neighborhoods and schools. They assumed their responsibility as real, not virtual citizens of our republic. They left their corner of America in better condition than they found it. They had no Facebook or MySpace. They neighbored on real ground, face to face. They cooperated, they persevered. They supported local business, City Hall, and when they didn't agree, they made sure that even members of Congress noticed the neglect. They improved their libraries and local parks and served in the military. And day after day, they gave of themselves as unselfishly in their corner of America where they loved it most and knew it most intimately. They moved liberty forward. People like them made it possible for a higher percentage of Americans to attain a 4-year bachelor's degree, which has doubled since the time I matriculated through this university. Today, men and women graduate in nearly equal proportion. Women were a distinct minority when I attended college, as they are in Congress today. Still, America has many horizons to meet. You will help us in these causes: economic recovery, balanced financial accounts, energy independence, affordable education, taming Wall Street abuse, and meeting population growth that will rise to over 500 million people inside our borders by 2050. Empowerment of middle-class people to offset the concentration of power in commerce, foreign wars, and a sustainable earth. Adopting the enduring values of citizens like these instructs our journey. Yes, our people and our very liberty are being challenged in ways they have never been tested before. Some might say liberty is facing its severest test in our modern era. Truth seekers are needed. Hard work and sacrifice matter as you take your degrees today. You will make positive contributions, not just to your family and community, but in liberty's daily struggle to form a more perfect union, not just for ourselves, but for our posterity. And if I could ask your generation to take on one political horizon, it would be to get rid of the campaign finance excess that plagues our political system today and actually threatens representative government. If Britain and Canada can do it, so can we. So can we. Daniel Webster said it best at our nation's founding when he urged the American people to let us develop the resources of our land, call forth its powers, build up its institutions, promote all its great interests, and see whether we also, in our time and generation, may not perform something worthy to be remembered. The future of our republic is in your hands. Onward, class of 2010. Seek truth, preserve liberty, Godspeed. Merry Christmas.